Welcome to the deep dive. Marvel Cinematic Universe, it always seems to, generate this incredible buzz.
Oh, absolutely.
Especially when new characters pop up or when you get those big fan favorite creatives involved again.
Right.
So today, we're going to take a really close look at the Disney Plus series, Ironheart. It got people talking, that's for sure.
It really did. And, we've pulled together a whole bunch of sources, stuff from social media, reviews, comments, all that. And our goal here, really, for you listening, is to kind of cut through all that noise.
Yes, simplify it a bit.
Exactly. This deep exploration should give you a really clear sense of how this major MCU show landed. What people loved, what critics thought, and maybe what didn't quite hit the mark.
Absolutely. So Ironheart, it's billed as drama, sci-fi, superhero, and the expectations, wow, they were sky high.
Definitely.
A huge part of that was Ryan Coogler, right, coming off Black Panther, Wakanda Forever.
Which was massive. Huge success, yeah.
And, of course, Kevin Feige overseeing things as producer. But the heart of it is Dominique Thorne as Riri Williams.
And people already knew her, liked her from Wakanda Forever.
Totally. She made a real impact there. And then you've got supporting cast like Alden Ehrenreich as Joe McGillicuddy and Anthony Ramos playing the Hood.
And what seemed really different here, or at least what they were selling, was the core idea. You've got Riri, this genius teen, building this amazing next-gen iron suit, protecting Chicago.
Standard superhero stuff so far.
Kinda, but then they threw in this unique mix of tech meets magic. That was the hook.
Ah, right, that tagline. No more MCU illusions. Fresh visual flair.
Exactly. That promised something a bit different visually, something new for the MCU feel.
And you could feel that excitement building before it even dropped. Remember when the trailer hit? Late June, I think?
Yeah, June 24th. It just exploded online.
Right. Went totally viral. Hashtags like hashtag Ironheart everywhere. Just this huge wave of Riri hype. It had that kind of energy, like when a star everyone loves finally makes a comeback, that sort of electric feeling.
Pure anticipation, yeah. So our job in this deep dive is really to unpack all that. We looked at Twitter, well, X now, Reddit, YouTube comments, sites like Rotten Tomatoes, comicbookmovie.com.
The whole spectrum.
Pretty much. And what we found was honestly a pretty mixed bag overall, but interestingly, a lot of praise specifically for the finale.
Okay, so not universally loved, but finished strong.
Seems like it. So we'll dig into what critics in the audience thought really worked and what didn't quite land as intended.
So we're really going to get into Dominique Thorne's performance because that sounds key.
Oh, definitely.
And explore this whole new tech magic aesthetic, see how that actually played out on screen.
Yep.
And also tackle those common criticisms like why the villain maybe didn't connect or issues with the plot.
Exactly. We want you to walk away with some real insight into, what makes a superhero show like this tick or maybe stumble.
Okay, so let's dive into that public sentiment. You said it was mixed, but the finale got a lot of love. What were people saying online?
Yeah, on Twitter X, you saw a lot of enthusiasm, especially towards the end. Things like hashtag Ironheart delivers an insanely fun story.
Okay, strong start.
Dominique Thorne is a force. Magic and tech mix equals crazy wise surprises. So highlighting those key elements.
Right, the lead, the premise.
But even some of those positive takes acknowledged issues. Like you'd see comments saying the villain isn't great, but then they'd follow up with the finale is well worth the watch.
Interesting. So acknowledging flaws but still finding value, especially at the end.
Precisely. And YouTube comments were kind of similar. Review roundups might call the series confusing but watchable, maybe a bit uneven.
But Thorne.
Thorne, almost universally praised. Like every comment section seemed to have someone calling her pure dynamite, just dominating the screen.
That really brings up a fascinating point, doesn't it? Can one absolutely stellar performance, like really carry a show, make people forgive other weaknesses?
It's a classic debate, especially with genre shows. What do you think made her Riri resonate so much?
Well, from what you're saying, it sounds like it was her authenticity, her energy.
I think that's exactly it. She
Wow.
just felt real as Riri Williams.
Yeah.
Grounded, relatable, even with all the flying suits and magic stuff happening around her.
So she provided that emotional anchor.
Yeah, exactly. And for a lot of viewers, that emotional connection was probably the most important thing. It made the whole journey feel worthwhile.
And Reddit threads kind of back this up. Mixed feelings, but props for the finale.
Yep, that pattern held pretty consistently. And if you look at the aggregators, Rotten Tomatoes, comicbookmovie.com, the scores kind of settled in that 70-72% range.
So fresh on Rotten Tomatoes, but not, like, knocking it out of the park.
Right, often described as fresh, but yeah, definitely not peak MCU, not reaching those top-tier levels.
Which is interesting, because didn't some people on Reddit worry about, like, review bombing before it even came out?
There was some chatter about that, yeah. But that final score, around 71% on RT, it actually felt pretty normal, I guess, for this kind of show in the current landscape.
So it kind of found its level.
Yeah.
Mid but okay for the casual viewer, maybe?
Pretty much. And the diehard fans, they were definitely championing Thorne and really seemed to dig that magic twist.
And the finale kept getting mentioned.
Oh, yeah. Consistently, the loudest applause was for the ending. And the dialogue, too, people seemed to like that mix of witty tech speak and the more emotional moments.
Were there specific lines people picked up on?
A few, yeah. Some meme-worthy ones comparing Riri's street smarts to Tony Stark's approach.
Wait.
Like, someone joked that a chess plate without Riri's touch is like biryani without chicken.
Huh. Okay, I like that. Grounded comparisons.
Exactly. And that magic tech vibe, some people compared it to Doctor Strange, but said this felt, I don't know, more tangible, more grounded somehow.
Okay, so let's focus on those positives then. What really, really worked? You mentioned Thorne repeatedly.
Top of the list, no question, just steals every frame. That authentic and energetic description kept coming up. She was Riri.
Any other performances stand out?
Alden Ehrenreich actually got quite a bit of praise, too. People seemed pleasantly surprised by his role.
Nice. And emotionally, the ending delivered.
Big time. People used words like goosebumps.
Yeah.
That finale really landed emotionally for a lot of viewers.
What about the whole tech magic thing visually? Did it work?
Yeah, that seemed to be a big win, too. The new tech magic aesthetic, people called it. The visuals, the Easter eggs hidden in there, it felt fresh, different.
A welcome change, maybe?
For many, yeah. And the pacing, generally speaking, got good marks. It had a fast intro, apparently, got you into the story quickly.
Oh, that's good. No slow burn intro.
Seemed like it kicked off pretty quickly. And then the finale, again, was described as really hitting hard. That early scene, the mass intro in the tech lab, people specifically called that out as a highlight. Like, they nailed that scene.
Sounds like there was definitely a lot to enjoy there. But you mentioned it wasn't perfect. What were the main complaints cropping up across these sources?
Right, and this is where we see some familiar superhero tropes maybe not quite landing. The villain, the Hood, played by Anthony Ramos.
Yeah. What about him?
Consistently called out as weak. Just didn't get enough solid development, apparently. And when your villain isn't compelling...
It kind of weakens the whole story, right? The conflict, the stakes.
Exactly. And tied into that maybe were comments about thin character arcs. Some subplots felt underdeveloped, like they never really got a chance to bloom fully.
So the writing maybe stumbled a bit, especially mid-season.
That's what critics often pointed to. And some viewers mentioned dialogue feeling cliche at times, or even finding logic loops in the plot during those middle episodes.
Little things that pull you out of it.
Yeah. And speaking of things people wanted but didn't get, missed opportunities.
Like what?
Well, a deeper dive into Tony Stark's legacy, how Riri fits into that or maybe reacts against it.
Ah, okay. The connection wasn't fully explored.
Seems like some felt it was surface level, and also no clear setup for the Armor Wars project. A lot of fans were kind of expecting that connection, and it just wasn't really there.
Yeah, that feels like a drop thread for the bigger MCU picture.
Definitely felt like a missed chance to weave it more tightly into the ongoing narrative for some fans.
So placing it within Phase 5 overall.
Yeah.
You said mid-tier.
Yeah, pretty squarely in the middle. Performance-wise, score-wise, it landed better than, say, Secret Invasion, which really struggled with critics, got like a 53% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Ouch.
Yeah. Ironheart was much closer to Echo, which also hovered around that 70% mark. Good, solid, but not reaching the heights of the absolute top-tier MCU entries.
So a consistent pattern maybe for Phase 5. Lots of solid, but fewer universally acclaimed hits.
It suggests that, yeah. A phase with maybe more experimentation, leading to more varied reception.
What about the technical side? Cinematography, look and feel.
Generally praised. The cinematography got good marks, especially how they showcased Chicago. Gave it a real sense of place. That gritty backdrop contrasted with the shiny suit tech. Visually rich.
But the script.
But the screenplay, yeah, some found it started a bit slow. Took until maybe the mid-season to really find its footing and pick up the pace.
But the overall production still felt like MCU quality. Big budget sheen.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Top-tier MCU production value was evident, grounded nicely in that Chicago setting. And even with some lines falling flat, there were definitely moments, specific dialogues that people found really memorable. Those mind-blown moments did happen.
So even with flaws, it still had that spark, that entertainment value.
Absolutely. It definitely had its own distinct entertainment factor. And for a while, there real viral energy online.
Okay, so let's try and pull this all together, synthesize that overall reception.
Right. So Ironheart landed around that 72% mark on Rotten Tomatoes and Comic Book Movie. Described mostly as fresh, but yeah, not peak MCU.
And sits firmly in that mid-tier category for Phase 5.
Yeah.
Better than Secret Invasion, kind of similar to Echo.
Exactly. Not a failure, but not a runaway smash hit either.
But the strengths were really clear and seemed to resonate strongly with a good chunk of the audience.
No doubt. Dominique Thorne's performance is the undeniable standout. Stealing every frame, authentic, energetic, pure dynamite, those descriptions were everywhere.
She really carried it.
She absolutely did. And that new tech magic aesthetic, the fresh visuals, the Easter eggs that really worked for people too, it felt visually distinct.
And the emotional payoff, especially at the end.
Yeah, that finale really connected, gave people goosebumps, made the journey feel well worth the watch. And the pacing helped. That fast intro got things moving, and the finale packed a punch.
Okay, but we got to acknowledge the flip side, too. Common criticisms.
For sure. The weak villain, the hood, just wasn't developed enough for many. That's a recurring theme.
And the thin character arcs, subplots that didn't quite blossom.
Yep. Plus those moments of cliche dialogue or logic loops that kind of took people out of the story, particularly mid-series.
And those missed opportunities digging into Stark's legacy, setting up armor wars properly, things the dedicated fans really look for.
Exactly. Those deeper connective tissues felt a bit lacking for some.
Still, despite all that, it sounds like the show had its own unique personality.
It really did. A distinct flavor, that viral energy we mentioned, those meme-worthy quips about Riri versus Stark landed well.
And the magic tech vibe, while maybe having echoes of Doctor Strange, felt different enough?
Yeah, more grounded, more integrated into her specific world and tech. It carved out its own little niche there.
So, boiling it down, who is this show really for? Who's going to enjoy Ironheart the most?
Well, dedicated MCU fans, obviously. They'll likely find plenty to appreciate. Anyone who enjoys those emotional tech kind of stories.
People who like a charismatic lead carrying the show.
Definitely. If you love a strong, engaging lead performance, Dominique Thorne delivers that in spades.
But who might find it less satisfying?
Viewers who really prioritize, say, tightly plotted scripts or complex, deeply developed villains, they might find those aspects a bit wanting here.
Okay, that makes sense. So it really leads to a bigger question for you, the listener. After hearing all this about Ironheart's reception, which was mixed but ultimately leaned positive, where do you personally stand on what makes a superhero series truly great, truly impactful? Is a pure dynamite lead like Thorne, and a really cool, innovative visual style enough to outweigh maybe weaker points in the script or a less than stellar villain?
That's a really interesting question, especially now, as the MCU keeps expanding, keeps introducing new faces and styles. What elements become the most important?
Yeah, what's the key ingredient for you? Something worth thinking about.
Definitely food for thought.
And, to wrap it up, the source material had a pretty great summary, I thought.
Oh, yeah. What was that?
It said, "This isn't just another MCU side story. It punches you with brainy tech and hugs you with emotional heart."
Nice. Like that.
It's not everyone's cup of tea. Or, as the source put it very colorfully, not everyone's Powell, which is Tamil for milk. But if your tea needs extra ginger and drama, go for it.
Haha. Perfect way to put it. A specific flavor, but definitely potent if it's your kind of brew.